All right, y'all, what's up? Welcome to episode 8 of the Wiretap. It's your host, Tony. We got a host of things to talk about. I don't even know why I said host, but yeah, we got a lot of to talk about. Let's get into it.
6 figures in, finally getting some wiggle room. Need more Lexus in the whip, in the house with some bigger rooms. Sex, religion, politics, so 3 things.
All right, y'all, like I said, we got a lot of things to talk about. As you see, I got my plant here. Got my laptop to fact check. I don't want to just be talking, you know. I want to say what I need to say and make sure y'all got the information. So, have you guys seen Quiet on the Set? Right? Nickelodeon? Wow. Wow. I think for any 90s millennial kid, that was shocking. And just as traumatic for us as it was for the kids. Because we hold Nickelodeon dear to our hearts because Nickelodeon has played a huge role in why we do what we do, right? Nickelodeon is something that we used to look forward to watching when we came home. I know for me, my lineup definitely was Rugrats, you know, Hey Arnold. I'm going to show my age here. But some of y'all may remember Rocko's Modern Life. That was definitely my shit back in the day. But, you know, I was an avid All That watcher. I mean, I started from the OG with Kenan and Kel and all those people that were on that show. But as we got into the documentary, you know, we knew why we was there. We knew why we was there, right? We knew we were there because there were some, and I don't even want to say accusations, but there was some things proven and accounts that were made about Dan Schneider and his practices on Nickelodeon. Now, mind you, I wasn't familiar with the names of the people, of course, the adults who played a role on, you know, what happened with, you know, the show in itself. I was just kind of amazed, like the rest of you were, about, you know, wow, what was going on? This is going on. And it broke my heart because that was a part of my childhood that for me seemed at the time genuine. You know, as a kid, you kind of believe the world operates in a certain way and that the world is a place that is, I guess you would say, fun to be in. Everyone's nice. Whatever the case may be, depending on your experiences as you grow up. I know that's not for every kid, but for me, the world seemed to be a place where I could be what I wanted to be. I can do anything I wanted to do. Essentially, that is the case still. But you understand as an adult, it comes with some sacrifices and hardship. I meant to say sacrifices. I don't know how I said it like that. But yes, it comes with some sacrifices. And like I said, the documentary was heartbreaking because, you know, all in all, I think the biggest thing that I've taken away from that particular documentary was Hollywood continues to be this place for predators. And I don't really understand this dynamic of power, right? In a sense of you get to a certain place in your life where you have the money, the accolades, and you want to control or force people into submission or to your will, right? I've had power in a sense before, right? At work, I've been able to reach a certain level and be able to manage things, right? Not once did it ever come across my mind to force anyone to do anything, right? I just wanted to do the best job I could, and, you know, whatever issues that the people had, I wanted to correct and just be a good manager in a sense. But I just feel like it's just a consistency with sexual abuse in Hollywood, whether it's physical and or verbal, and also with money. The documentary, spoiler alert, and I'm gonna be talking about Freaknik next as well, but spoiler alert, the beginning of it starts with these two writers, and they are given a salary that's split between the two of them. So essentially, imagine if someone offered you $50,000 and then told you, well, we got to split that, so you really be getting 25. Now, I don't know how that type of money spent back in 1999, but I know in a climate of today where we practice, self-worth and not shortening ourselves, that to me just sounded crazy. But I get it, Here's an opportunity for these two young ladies to step away from careers they don't. I think one of them wasn't even really working, but to step away from careers that they don't enjoy in order to, put their foot into Hollywood. I don't think they wanted to stay on kids shows, but here's a door. Let me take advantage, and this door could lead to other opportunities. But essentially, it didn't. They were harassed. They weren't taken seriously because they were women, and they dealt with some things up there. And ultimately, they left. Well, one quit, and I think the other one was fired for refusing to do something that was just obscene. And then we get into the sexual abuse that happened up there. I can't remember the first person's name who got caught, the pedophile who got caught, but I do believe he was caught because he kissed a 9-year-old he was playing video games with. Now listen, as a parent myself, why are you letting your 9-year-old child play video games with a grown man? I don't understand that. You'll never get me to understand that. I think it's weird. I think maybe the parents really wanted to help their children's career progress and really help them become the stars that they wanted them to be and knew them to be. But it's no way I'm about to let my child play video games with a grown man. I'm sorry. And I don't know what be going through people's minds when they meet people who are in those fields of, producing, audio, background, whatever they be doing, as far as on set, when those people are on set. Because I believe the gentleman was just selling a lot of pipe dreams in order to get access to the children. And I don't see how no one found that to be awkward. None of them. And I'm not blaming the parents. Well, I am. Essentially, I am, I guess you would say. I am blaming the parents because, again, you can't convince me that nobody sat there and thought twice. Like, this might be kind of weird. But, again, they wanted to give them access because they thought they were getting something in return. And maybe they didn't let their minds go to the other side. I don't know how parents viewed, I guess you would say, pedophilia back then. And what I mean by that is, I don't know if it was like a thing of news. Like, I don't know if, it was something they constantly see or they knew about, or they knew statistics of. Like, the thing about the internet and social media, what it has done is it has given us access to know who these people are and, what vicinities they live in. I don't know if they had that type of information and or access during the 90s or the early 2000s. I'm not sure how that worked. But I feel like over the last few years as I've grown, the number of pedophilia is like wow, it's astronomical in a sense. Like, I didn't know these people existed. I didn't know this kind of community existed. So I don't know if the parents, in a sense, thought the same way. But I still feel like I would know if something was weird, because why you as a grown person want to be around my child? And that leads me to Drake's story. And I don't even call it a story, his truth. Let's say that. That was also heartbreaking because, you know, the one thing that I've noticed about child stars is they always end up fiended out or fucked up. Not too many child stars have kind of stepped into that next level of success. The only person I could think of, honestly, and forgive me, but he's just one of my favorite actors, which is Leonardo DiCaprio. But for the most part, most of those TV stars, child stars that come from sitcoms or children platforms, they end up fucked up. Like, the one thing I could think about was like, yeah, where is Amanda Bynes? Like, what happened to her? Like, I remember she was just this thing, and then it's just like she was gone. Or well, we know what happened to Lindsay Lohan. She stayed in the news. But a lot of these child stars that we grew up with, you know, most of them never made it past being child stars. And Drake's story was interesting because his dad was definitely on it. His dad was definitely aware something was off with their acting coach, and he would not want to leave his son around and alone with that man. But like most of us believe as teenagers, we think we know everything, and eventually his acting coach led him to believe that his father wasn't fitting for his manager role, and it kind of drove a wedge between them two. And that's what predators normally do. You know, they find ways to get what they want. But it was sad to watch. And I feel for the victims because no one should have to go through that. Again, the conclusion I come to about Hollywood is just, it's a place where predators be. And you really got to understand who you are as a person to know what you're willing to accept and do in order to become what you want to become. I'm pretty sure there are many other actors or actresses that have gone through similar situations, whether it be physical, harassment, verbal, whatever the case may be. But nobody should have to experience that to get a job. If you're talented, you should get the job. If you are talented, you should get the job. It should be no extras, nothing about you doing this for me or doing that for me. No, it should be none of that. It should be like, I like how you portrayed my character for this script. I want you to do the job. That should be it. But for some reason, it's not. And it's weird. Now, I wanted to get into Freaknik. Spoiler alert. I'm going to be dropping some spoilers here. Freaknik, it could have been a wonderful thing if it continued. And I know they tried to bring it back, but ultimately the issue is it's not organic. Now, if you haven't seen Freaknik, you'll learn quite a few things about Freaknik. One being that it actually started in the 80s. And it started from our DMV people. See, I'm here in Baltimore, and we don't usually claim the DMV, but, you know, just to see that a Marylander, you know, was able to start something that ended up growing into something that was phenomenal. And it started really among the college students. Now, you won't see them, in my opinion, this is my opinion, you don't see them kind of, I guess you would say, the city of Atlanta kind of trying to control it, because I believe that the students that were involved were very responsible in how they handled it. It's not until about like 88, 89, 91 where you kind of see it grow into what we know of it from the 90s, right? It's this thing where it's like just pleasant. You come from where you come from, you enjoy your time, and then, y'all go y'all separate ways. Around, like I said, 88, 89, 90, you start getting more and more schools involved, like colleges involved. Because in my mind, you got to be between 18 to 21, maybe at sometimes 23, to participate in this, right? I think it probably was on that college circuit, like word of mouth was just through the colleges. But then it got weird, because then you get to a point where now you have the community involved, right? And when I say the community involved, I don't mean in the sense of them making money off of it. I mean, you have grown men participating and being around these college kids. Now, when it comes to age, right, and we all can talk about this, we've all talked about the whole grooming thing, right? When you get some of these grown men around these college girls and they don't know better, things can happen. Now, what happens, in my opinion, is the evolution of Uncle Luke. Shout out to Uncle Luke. This is no disrespect to him, but we know what Uncle Luke is known for. If the kids of the 90s, and I'm pretty sure some of you kids after us millennials, I can't even think what generation it is that, but I feel like Gen Z, I believe. Some of you know who Uncle Luke is and what he's known for. Once he's introduced into the fold of Freaknik, that's when it starts becoming promiscuous and sexual. I'm not saying it didn't have those elements prior to, but you just notice a heightened sense of sexuality and promiscuousness, I guess you would say. Now, I know there was a piece that talked about how the women felt liberated because, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe around this time of year, Atlanta is very warm, very hot. So essentially, yes, you're not going to go out there wearing, like what I have on right now, right? You're not long sleeve, nothing. I mean, maybe if it's a nice breeze out, but for the most part, it's going to be Daisy Dukes bras and bathing suit bras and whatever, right? So the women started feeling liberated and being able to dress how they wanted to and, talk to men a certain way, introducing themselves, going after what they wanted. But once Uncle Luke, and this is all my opinion of it. You can watch it for yourself. Once Uncle Luke kind of comes into the fold, now you start seeing the over heightened sexual shit, right? I mean, at one point in the movie, a dude had a dildo on his damn window, right? And then around 96, Atlanta was able to become the placeholder for the Olympics. They won that. So as CeeLo said, then it becomes big bank take little bank. So mind you, from the 80s up until 96, Freaknik was an organic thing. No one controlled it. No one minimized it. Nothing. It just was its own, like the city of Atlanta knew it was coming. They dealt with it. It left, right? Now, essentially, from what the documentary says, Freaknik was bringing in between 15 to 20 million. Now, when 96 comes, we're talking about billions of dollars at this point, right? Once the Olympic comes, it's bringing a different demographic of people. The world now knows about Atlanta. Now people want to come down there and see what's up with Atlanta. People realize it's a business hub. You can definitely get money down there. It's all these things that are bringing all these people. Now that 20 million that Freaknik was making means nothing compared to what this Olympic game is about to bring in. So they try to control it. And it was a mess from what I could see. It was a mess. But it kept going. And like I said, it kind of just morphed into this place for sexual predators. One female student gave her recollection of her situation where her clothes were ripped off, completely off. She describes like really being out there, shirt ripped, breast out. Her skirt was only being held by a thread in a sense. And the only reason why people got off of her was because somebody yelled police. The police weren't even out there. And once the sexual assaults kept manifesting itself, it kind of just died. Nobody wanted to go anymore because nobody wanted to deal with that. Also, traffic. One person said it took him 3 hours to get home versus 10. It just became this monster eventually, and it just stopped being what it was meant to be, which was just this organic picnic for college students to come to and meet and, you know, build relationships off, and whatever that came from it, came from it. It was sad to see go away because this was like the only thing we had as a people compared to, like, you know, our counterparts who had, you know, spring break events in Florida, California, that, you know, we not really welcome to. This is like for us. But as always, once the community starts kind of getting involved and outside people from, you know, different parts of the country start getting involved that weren't college students, that were grown men, it turned into what it turned into. So definitely go watch that. It's definitely interesting. And I wish we were able to have it still. Like I said, they tried to bring it back, but I think it was so far gone that it doesn't hold the same weight that it used to. Now I want to get into some music, and we're gonna come right back and we're gonna break this verse down from Kendrick and him beefing with J. Cole and Drake. It's very. All right, y'all, we back. And like I said, I wanted to speak on the Kendrick verse. Future's album is really dope to me, by the way. I really enjoyed it. No skips. And he has Prodigy on there. For you real hip-hop enthusiasts like myself, it was nice to hear Prodigy's voice and, you know, him speaking about the rap game, which is kind of still relevant, which is why I believe Future used it. Now, let's get into this verse from Kendrick and how I dissect it. In my opinion, the verse to me was like a light jab. I don't think it was anything that was like revolutionary. You know, like the thing about like Ether to me was revolutionary. I think it was because how it came off, and what it kind of did for the culture of New York. And there are other prominent rap beefs that kind of, you know, hit hard, like No Vaseline. That's a legendary one. The Bitchin' You by Common when he responded back to West Side Connection. Nobody saw that coming. Pause. But I don't think the verse, and mind you, those are whole songs, by the way. Or Hit 'Em Up, that's another one. That one was like, oh. But what I'm really trying to say is that the verse in itself, it was a good verse. But I took it like And the best way, like I said, a light jab. And what I mean by that, you ever seen like, and many can relate to this. Have you ever seen like your friends slap boxing and then like that one person who really got hands is playing around, and the one person who don't really hit them, and then the person like, boy, stop playing with me. That's what I think that verse was. There was all these think pieces on it, and there was definitely some double entendres and everything within it. But I don't think it was anything that was like, it didn't blow my mind. I think, if anything, it was something that I didn't see coming, pause. And also direct. Now, for those who don't know, Kendrick and Drake, in my opinion, have been dissing each other for the last, 10, 12 years? Now, somebody had a good breakdown about it, because they believe that Cole only gets involved because he was in the way. So it's like, imagine if I'm taking a shot at somebody and the person in the middle is trying to, like, prevent that in a sense, or show that, like, bro, we're all together in this. And I'm like, nah, I don't care about none of that. Like, bow. Like, if you want to stand there, you're going to get hit with him. Like, pause. Like, that's pretty much how I kind of took what the person was saying on Twitter. But I think it was a great breakdown. The verse in itself, like I said, it didn't do anything for me in the sense of like having to listen and re-listen. I think the part that I took from it that was important was there was a direct shot. Like, there was leaving no room for assumption. There was it can't be. It can't be. And granted, I think Kendrick kind of started this beef. If you go back to the BET Awards back in, I believe it was 2013, maybe. 2013 is where that kind of starts with the BET hip hop freestyle. And Kendrick has that line where he says, nothing was the same until I tucked the sensitive rapper back in his place. Like, that was crazy. But it's like, that was a direct shot, because whose album was named that? I don't understand what Kendrick's gripe is with, and I don't even know if I'm using that word right, with what his beef is with Drake. I don't know what's said at that dinner, because if you listen to Take Care, he's on Buried Alive, and he mentions how, like, once he figures out that Drake is the same age as him, he kind of gets annoyed. And maybe that dinner didn't go over so well. But if that's the case, I don't see Drake still putting that verse on his album. But all in all, this is interesting. Because right now, Cole is on his shit, man. Cole has been dropping and dropping and dropping, and everything's been a bomb. Like, everything has been a bomb. An atomic bomb. Everything he's been dropping has been an atomic bomb, from his features to his regular songs. Everything's been a bomb. So I'm interested in seeing how he responds to this. Honestly, I don't know if Drake should even swing back. And I say that because more people, from what I've seen on Twitter, are mostly interested in Cole and Kendrick. I don't even really see too many people speaking about Drake and Kendrick. It's mostly trying to see these two bar for bar rappers go back and forth. And don't get me wrong, I know it's probably friendly competition, because they're cool. Like, at the end of the day, they are friends. And I think, honestly, everybody in the industry is friends to a certain extent, or have some type of business relationship. But I think Cole and Kendrick are really cool. I don't see them, because I think even Dreamville's album, I can't remember the name off top, but I believe Kendrick is featured on that song with the Baby and Cole and the one guy. But I think more people are interested in that than they actually are the Drake and Kendrick thing. Honestly, I don't even know how Drake responds to that outside of maybe I had more money than you. I don't know if he can really keep up as far as bar for bar. Cole definitely can. Cole can definitely keep up. And that really might turn into a slugfest between those two if it gets to that point. But I don't see it really getting to that point, only because Kendrick doesn't really drop. Cole's been very consistent recently. Kendrick is not the same way. I don't know how he's going to be now because he's out of his deal with TDE. But I don't know. History says Kendrick doesn't really put out music at a high frequency. He puts out great music, but it's not, he's not on that like Lil Wayne run. Like, I feel like that's what Cole is doing right now. I feel like Cole is like on that. Remember when Lil Wayne was just dropping? Kind of feel like that's kind of what Cole is doing. Like, yo, yeah, I'm here. Like, all that other shit I did, I got that out the way. Now I'm ready to play. So I think that's kind of what that turned into. So I wanted to speak on this, and not to kind of get too deep, but there was this young man whose picture was posted because he got accepted to NASA, and in that he was able to keep his locks, right? We know when we get into certain spaces with these companies, they have issues with how we present ourselves with our hair. And it was him and a few other black people, and shout out to them for making such a huge, achievement in their life. But of course, naturally, when this picture circulates and becomes viral, a video drops. And the video is of him, and I don't know if he's still with this person, but I doubt he is because I'm pretty sure she's the one that dropped it, of their domestic disputes. And in my mind, I get exposing people, right? But what I don't get is why do people hold on to it? Because in the video, it's definitely him, but also in the video, he doesn't have locks. And I would say the locks that he has in his NASA picture was like a medium, probably like about right here or here, possibly, if he let the hair down. And in that video, he has like a cruddy, like a short cruddy. If y'all don't know what a cruddy is, it's pretty much, like a fade on the side, but a little bit of hair. In a sense, it's not really. Kendrick used to have one back in the day. That's what we call a cruddy here. That's what we call it here in Baltimore. We call it a cruddy. So I know the video's old, and the music in the background. Actually, if I'm not mistaken, it was a Sir song, but I could be wrong. But I know the song in the background is kind of old as well. But that could be just because that's the song they play. It doesn't mean. That's not really giving me a time frame, but the hair does. And I'm like, okay, like I said, I get exposing people. I understand the concept of exposing bad people. But in my mind, why did this young lady hold on to this video? And then when this man has his prolific moment in life and becomes, essentially what he wanted to achieve, why then do you drop the video? Why wasn't the video dropped after the altercation? And that's the weird part to me. And granted, I definitely believe people deserve certain consequences to their actions. But then I wonder, with cancel culture, where do we draw the line in responsibility, right? We want people to be held responsible. Cool, I get that. I'm all for that. But when does it become a thing of you did what you did, you took your responsibility, and you're moving forward now? Like, Chris Brown goes through this a lot. I notice anytime he achieves something and or he's trending, they always bring up the Rihanna thing. And I find it to be weird because Chris took his accountability in that. Right? He took his accountability. He, stood 10 toes on what he was supposed to do, did what he was supposed to do, served his time or whatever. He got his consequence and his punishment. So how long are we supposed to hold on to that? I think even Rihanna let that shit go, right? I think they were seen together years later at a game, conversing, right? So why is it that we hold on to it when we shouldn't? It's the weirdest thing to me. Again, I understand cancel culture, and I understand bringing your predators to justice. But what I don't understand is once they do what they're supposed to do, or they take their accountability, or they serve their time, why do we still bring it up? Why do we still try to condemn them on something they took accountability for, ultimately? It's like, Charlamagne used to have this saying that I used to love, like, today's culture wouldn't let Malcolm Little become Malcolm X. And he's absolutely right. Because we try to justify why people don't deserve certain things, or whatever the case may be. It's only a number of things that I feel like you can't forgive people on, right? Which, in my opinion, is definitely pedophilia, definitely rape, definitely murder. But things outside of that, and let me rephrase myself. If they don't have a history of it, 9 times out of 10, it's probably a reactional situation, right? 9 times out of 10, they probably just didn't know what to do. And a lot of these incidents happen at a young age. You know what I'm saying? A lot of these situations don't happen when they're in their 30s, 40s. And even if they did, and they do what they're supposed to do, serve their time, and take their accountability, and, send the apologies, whatever the case may be, why do we continue to hold on to it? They did what they were supposed to do. Yes, what they did was wrong, but they did what they were supposed to do. That's all I want to say on that topic. I just thought that was interesting that that video dropped once this gentleman became successful at his job, or whatever his quest was. I want to leave you guys with just some personal thoughts, right? I'm not starting in the show this way. Whatever you're going through, whatever you're dealing with, understand you'll make it through it. I'm personally dealing with something that is traumatic in a sense, and I don't even know how to kind of operate through it, but I know I'm gonna get through it. I feel like life will test what you really want and really commit yourself to see if you really are going to do it. And I think that's what's happening to me right now. I think I am being tested, and I will see this through, and I will figure this out. But just know you too will do the same. Thank y'all for tapping in. This is episode 8, and we'll be back next week.